power on the object or the power inside of
Oh,
you?
yeah, that was funny.
So we're acting like
And the only reason she has power is because she has.
no.
Faith.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
We were in science talking about power,
Yeah.
and Noah goes, do you mean the power inside you or the power inside the object?
All right, here we go. So we're going to talk today's lesson 5.1 and 5.2. 5.1 and 5.2 are are kind of they go together. For some reason, I teach them together because of the way that I feel like it should be taught, and I'm not going to change. I'm old dogs, new tricks. I'm an old dog. Can't learn anything new. All right. So here we go. Ready?
Oh, question. The DOG is not pronounced the same way as DAWG, right?
All
Dog.
Dog.
They are.
Dog.
All right. So here we go. So what we're going to do, there are 4 ways to cut a triangle. To cut a triangle. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be discussing 4 ways to cut triangles. And so basically this set 2 sections talk about the 4 ways. Yeah.
What chapter?
5, chapter 5. And we're going to finish chapter 5 by the end of next, before you guys go to Thanksgiving break, when you come back the day after Thanksgiving, because I want to give you something. We'll do a test right away because
Wait,
right.
the day after
Because
we
it's
get
all about
back?
being thankful and giving to others, so I'm going to give.
Please don't do it.
Can you give us a day of freedom?
You.
No, never.
Got you there.
Oh.
All right, here we go. Number 1. So let's talk through. We talk about, and basically we're talking about cutting a triangle. So if we have a triangle, let's draw a triangle up.
Yeah.
If I were to cut this triangle, what are some ways in cutting this triangle? Okay, so if I were to draw a line from here and I were to cut this triangle, what would it do? What can it do? So based on stuff we have learned in this class so far. What are things we have learned? We have learned what when it comes to angles and sides? What have we learned? Let's try to review this in our minds. And then get your minds focused on geometry for 5 minutes here. What have you learned? About anything. So like if I had a line, let's say I have a line, and I cut that line. What are some things I know about that cut? Very good. It can be bisected. What does it mean to be bisected?
Equal
They cut in half, right? What have we learned about an angle?
Same thing, but equal.
I can draw an angle like that, right? And bisect it, right?
That's 2 triangles.
Okay, so just a second.
Oh.
These are things you can do. What's going to happen is we're going to take them to cutting triangles in a second. What else? What else can we do? If I have a line like this, and I draw something like this, what would this kind of line be called?
Or
Perpendicular, right? Would you agree? So here's the thing. By the way, these 3 right here are 3 of the ways that you could draw that line to make it so you know how to cut a triangle with specific requirements. Like, for instance, if you take a pie and you cut a pie, you have to have reasons how you cut it. Like, for instance, if we have, at the time, we should have done it when we only had 7 people in the room, it would have been a lot easier. How many pieces of pie would we have needed when there were 7 students and 1 teacher? 8. Okay, now that we have added 3 more, 11, now we need to cut it into 12s, you know what I'm saying? Starting to get a little upset about how much I'm sharing with everybody, right? But the point is you have to cut it a certain way because of the number of people, of the requirements, right? These are things you have learned, so that's how you're going to cut these triangles, okay? So, the first one, when cutting a triangle, if I draw this and I cut it from, and it has to start at the vertex. Starts at the vertex. And it makes it perpendicular. Okay? Now, pretty cool, right? So here's the point. What that is called is an altitude. It's the height of the triangle. It's the height of the triangle. A right angle of it forms the height of a triangle. So the word altitude is a way to cut it. So if you see somebody say, draw an altitude of a triangle, you'll have a triangle looking like this, and you'll draw it from one of the vertexes over so that it forms a 90-degree angle. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If If it says draw all three altitudes, you would draw it like this. And now we have all three. So what is an altitude? What does it do? It forms a what?
Right angle.
90-degree angle. Good. So there's my drawing, guys. So now question. This is the new part that you may not know. When you draw all three of them and you get a common point right here, that is called the orthocenter. By the way, they all are centers, right? They're all going to be with the second word center. Ortho. When you have all of them forming a 90-degree angle, then it's an ortho center. How many of you guys have had to go to the orthodontist? Orthodontia. So let me ask you a question. Why did you go get orthodontia work?
Ooh.
To straighten your teeth. Right? It's not in the middle. I didn't say middle. I said 90-degree angle. To make them right, correct. Right and right. Does that make sense? Your parents took you there to get your teeth to the right location. To the right location. 90 degrees. Okay? Ortho center. So how you can remember it. Also, it matches A and O, both vowels. Or both vowels, yeah, both vowels. Alright? Next one, number 2. It's early, okay? Alright, next one. Angle bisector. Angle bisector. So what does that mean? What do you think that does? It's an angle and it bisects. So what is it going to do in that triangle? It's going to cut the
In half.
angle in half. So it cuts angle in half. So let's draw that. So it's going to cut this. Cut this. We talked about this, didn't we, guys? It was all quiet in here until Faith came back.
We did mention this.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
See, we would do that. See, that was so they can't say we gossip about it because we talked about it with her in here, right?
Exactly.
Okay? So look carefully. We drew it. Everybody see it? Notice it forms a center. Okay? Everybody see that? If you move your backpack, you can see.
See, she always does that.
But that would be too easy. It's more fun to try to look around a backpack.
It's there for a reason.
Now, so angle bisector cuts the angle in half. You have all three of them. When they draw them, you get a common point. That common point is called the in center.
Who comes up with these names?
Probably Euclid.
Oh my word.
In center. You see that?
Yes.
Once again, vowel and vowel, right? I, A, right? So I can, by the way, that's how I remember it. Okay? You can do what you want, but that's how I remember it. I also remember orthodontia, ortho, with right angle. Third one. A median.
Oh no.
I know, right?
A median. What do you think a median is?
The middle.
Hey, look at you guys, smarter than the average bear, all right? It might be a koala bear. And they're, yeah.
Okay.
Polar bears are not smart.
I didn't say polar bears.
Yeah,
I
you
said
said we're smarter.
koala bears are very smart. Have you ever had a koala bear?
These
Do you know? Huh?
Do
you
you
ever had a
know
koala bear?
things?
Yes, maybe I have.
Do you know?
All they
Do you know
The Muffin Man, the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man.
All right, cuts the side in half.
Mulberry
Mulberry Lane.
All right, it cuts the side in half. So let's draw it. So,
smaller.
so if I draw it, thanks. I know you draw everything smaller.
Was that an insult? I'm not even sure what that was.
I'm not sure.
Maybe that was just a statement of fact.
To the statement.
to draw his face so you can get all the details. It's too small.
Okay, look. See my drawing? Okay.
Oh, that's a lot of lines.
Oh, man.
Wait.
Oh, I don't like that.
Because it cuts the sides in half, so it divides those lines in half.
That hurts.
Now,
That's confusing.
I know you mean well.
Fake.
Is that what is? This was the 3.
okay, so that's 3 of them, yep. Okay, so when it cuts the opposite side in half, it's called a median. So class, can I ask you a question? And if it's a median, if we have something coming from the sky, they call those what?
Meteorite.
Meteoroids.
Oh.
Very good. Listen, let me tell you, this is how, you guys go, Mr. Comstock, you're crazy. I know, but this is how I remember stuff. There's only one way to remember things, is being a little bit crazy. So here it is, ready? When it's a median, the 3 places when it intersects is called a centroid. Instead of a meteoroid, meteoroid, not a meteoroid, it's a median and a centroid.
The 3 places at what?
When it meets, this point is called a centroid.
The centroid.
The
Okay.
common point is called the centroid.
Yep. And that's the only one does not have center in the name.
Well, cinch.
Okay? Ortho, center, in center, centroid. So it switches it.
Got it.
That's all.
Sounds like a.
And by the way, the other way to help you is this, is that all 3 of these, and number 4, all deal with angles, and they all have in center, ortho center, and so on. So that's the other way to help. Such and such. All right, number 4, last one. Yeah.
Are these gonna like help us prove something?
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, no. Another gain.
So what's gonna happen is they're gonna say, okay, if you want to prove these triangles, okay, if you have a perpendicular, bisector, or median, or angle, whatever, they're gonna ask you to use one of these to prove it. That's all. These are just giving you, hey, this is how you cut that triangle. You have to cut it by cutting the angle. You have to cut it by forming a 90-degree angle. You have to use it by cutting the side. That's all. Just telling you how you're going to cut the side. And by the way, you can do what's called a 9-point circle. I don't know that we may do that on Friday just for fun. It's because there's a lot of people missing. We might do that for fun. But a 9-point circle, what you do is you use these three things drawing on a triangle, and it will draw and make a perfect circle. It's actually pretty cool. It's like a little cool art project. I don't like doing it because it's art. I'm not an artist. Or
Okay.
So number 4 though. Number 4.
How
Before we
does
get
the
to that
math
point,
happen?
we gotta do number 4.
Yes.
It is a perpendicular bisector. Okay, so what's a perpendicular bisector? What do you think that is?
It's a perpendicular.
It's perpendicular, so that means what?
It's
Forms
Forms a
90 degree
right
angle,
angle.
and if it bisects it, what does it do?
It cuts in half.
Cuts the side in half.
I love how Ken did it.
So forms a 90-degree angle and cuts in half. Now, here is the key. This is the one thing you need to know, and you got to make sure you get this. On these 3, where do they start?
The corners. The vertexes.
On these 3, they have to start at the vertex. On this one, they don't. They don't have to. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So let me demonstrate it here for you. Perpendicular bisector.
I love your socks, Mr. Comstock.
Yeah, cool.
What's on them?
Math.
It's math?
All I see is.
Legit.
So watch carefully. Listen. Listen. So if you have it, it looks like this. Now notice, it has to form a right angle with the opposite side and cut it in half.
Are there potentially 2 pictures for this?
Oh.
Okay?
Wait. I feel like I should just take a photo of this and just abandon this.
Wait, how is it not in the
Now listen, I told you. Notice, everybody look, please. I told you this already. 1, 2, and 3 have to start at the vertex. These, the most important thing is how you cut the other side. So like, for instance, you don't have to go from the vertex, you can just draw it. That's why you have to have your like ruler and make sure it's a right angle. So that's what I did. So look, this is still that point. It just so happens that it's actually one of the points on the line. It could actually happen outside of the point, outside of the line, outside of the triangle. Okay? So watch carefully. That point is called a what? Does anybody know? Circumcenter. So the 3 points I made were half. I cut the lines in half, so I knew where I was going to draw through. So what I did on this drawing, what I did was this. If I have a triangle, and I go, okay, I need to have half of it. I go, okay, there's half. So I put a little tick mark, about half. So I know where I'm trying to draw. Then, what's next is I have to have it perpendicular. So if it has to be perpendicular, then the only way it's perpendicular is if it's like this. And then this one has to be perpendicular too. And this one has to be perpendicular too.
Makes sense.
And notice our point actually falls outside of the drawing that time. Okay?
It's so hard to draw.
All you're doing is cutting the opposite side in half and making sure it's perpendicular. Okay? That's all. I know it's a little hard. I get it. It's not easy, simple. It's not simple stuff. But that's what you're doing here. Okay? This is the key to the lesson. You get this information, the rest of it kind of falls into place. Okay? So here's why. Go to number 1 on the homework, page 209. Everybody goes to page 209.
Oh wait, did you say the center point is called the circumcenter?
Circumcenter, yep. Circumcenter, yep. So everybody turn to page 209. Everybody turn to 209, please. Everybody there? Look at the drawing. Everybody see the drawing? We have a triangle, A, B, D, point C, and point E. Now, everybody look. AC, what kind of line is that? What kind of line is that? It's perpendicular only, right? It doesn't cut it in half. So which one of these 4 is it? Altitude, angle bisector, median, or perpendicular bisector? Altitude. Why? Because altitude says it forms a... Doesn't matter about where it lies. So A is an altitude. Does everybody follow that? So look at CE. Look at CE. What is CE? The other key thing is, where does it start? It doesn't start at the vertex, right? So therefore, the only one it can possibly be of these 4 is... Does that make sense to everybody? So A is altitude. B is perpendicular bisector. Is everybody following me here? Okay, look at number 2, please. Everybody look at number 2. What is QT? QT.
Oh my god.
Perpendicular bisector.
Perpendicular bisector. Why? It cuts it in half and forms a 90-degree angle. This isn't that hard. It just looks really hard and complex. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This is just the memory stuff of it, so you can know it. Then you can identify it. Okay? PU. PU.
Oh my word.
What's PU?
Altitude.
Altitude. Good. Any questions?
No.
Are we getting? That's all you're doing. You're just using this information to do that. So, okay? All right? Any questions on that information up to this point? What we will do in the next 2 sections, all you're doing is reiterating using this. How to draw them. Some of you are good artists, so that'll be good. If you have a protractor and if you have a straight edge, that's what you need. So if you have a protractor, how many of you have a protractor? How many of you have a compass?
Oh wait,
I think so.
is it those?
We may see if we can find compasses, because that's what we would do with a 9-point circle. We might do that just for fun on Friday, because there's a lot of people gone, and kind of give us a day off. But, okay, so bring your straight edge, and you're going to need those to do your homework. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead and
Unfortunate.
stop recording here.
Low battery.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't try to charge it. All right.
Oh wait, then.